going.
All right. Thank you.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Why do it?
Exactly. We always have fun.
And we don't, then we have a nap.
Yes. Which is also fun.
No more beers. Greetings, everyone. I'm Dr. Jackson, sometimes known as Dr. J, and I want to welcome a very dear friend and long member of the P4C Hawai'i family, and that's Maughn Gregory. We go back quite a few years. He's a veteran, and he's going to start us off a little bit about himself and the profound impact that he has had and continues to have on P4C that started in Maui.
It started in Maui. Thank you, Dr. J. Well, no, it started in your class.
Ah, okay.
It started the class I took from you in philosophy for children here. I came for my master's degree in 1990. And then, yeah, I started to go out to you put me in the schools program in Maui. And beautiful, beautiful experience. But we'll talk about that. That's part of the timeline. So part of what I want to do today is do a P4C Hawai'i timeline.
Okay.
And so I took down a few notes, but before we do that, I would like to ask you about your childhood.
My childhood.
Was there something philosophical going on in your childhood? What kind of child were you? Because everybody talks about how you're so beautifully childlike now, all through your life. So it must have began somewhere. Tell us about that.
Okay. Well, I think one of the gifts of philosophy for children, and for me in doing this work, is to have a look back again at what was my childhood like, and that one of the gifts for Matt Lipman was bringing together philosophy and children. And so was I childlike back in the, when did these things get started? And as I moved in a way away from the view of philosophy that I got by becoming a philosophy major and going through all that,
Yeah.
I did have this feeling that was, philosophy is not for children. But the more we moved along and the more I got to work with children, I thought, whoa, guess what? It starts with children. It starts with children. So when I think about my own trajectory then, for a very long time, as far back as I can remember, I had a real sense about and sensitivity to suffering. And it could have been, one of the problems I had was I had a problem with my toes. I had ingrown toenails. And what happened was that folks would come up, it was a fungus, and as a teasing, some of the boys, this is elementary school, would come up and stamp on my foot because they knew it was painful. I didn't have a reflex to protect myself, and so my feet would be bloody. I thought, so I had this general sense of suffering in recognizing that in the world. So after I decided I wasn't going to be a fireman or a garbage man or all of those sorts of things, so what am I going to do with my life? And I felt medicine. Medicine would be a way of responding to the suffering in the world.
Sorry, where did you grow up?
So I haven't finished yet. Where did I start to try to grow?
Where did you start?
Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, there was going to be medicine. And so, series of events, I was moving along, and I was a pre-med major, and I was taking all these courses. But what got underway in the environment around me was the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. And so that's what's in the ambience of what's going on. So I had this feeling, I was in a comparative anatomy class, and I thought, is it going to be medicine? And in this comparative class, she put up a notice: are you interested in being in surgery, working in surgery? Come to this little workshop. So I went, and this was a phenomenal experience, because what was happening in medicine at the time was that they had two surgeons at the operating table, and they realized that to have two surgeons there, they only needed one. and somebody as an assistant. So this was to prepare you folks to be surgical assistants. It's now a very formalized thing, but we were, we were pioneers in that. And so that meant we had 6 weeks of training, and then we went in and we assisted in surgery. And I've done, and I mean participated intimately in open heart surgery.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, and it is wow.
Yeah.
So, they open up the chest and they're doing all of this. And in the putting of a valve in, for instance, of the heart, if you're the other surgeon, there's a huge number of sutures that have to go in. So after a while, you're in a comfortable place, and I just automatically take up the suturing. So it's like two minds become one rhythmic sort of section where we put them all together. And at the end, as the surgeons knew that I was interested in medicine, I would sew up after the. So I had these experiences that were extraordinary. Some wonderful, some were very disillusioning about the nature of what some doctors were doing who shouldn't be practicing, the racism that was there, all of those sorts of things.
Was this in Ohio? Sorry.
This was in Ohio,
Okay.
Toledo, Ohio, and it was a leading hospital in Toledo, Ohio. And so I began to think, no, I'm caring about suffering. But if the patient's asleep, you can't be much, much help. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I thought, maybe psychology. I don't know what can I do? And then I got into philosophy. I just took a philosophy class at the university. The first class was devastatingly boring. It was awful. You've been there, right? This was someone who had a legal pad that was worn off about a quarter of it because
been there.
Yeah,
Mine too.
right?
Yeah.
Oh God. And I thought, no, this is not going to work. But I took one more class, and it was existentialism.
Oh.
Okay, and that was the start of a shift because it was Kierkegaard, and I was struggling with this religion I had been brought up with. That there is this creator who looks after all of us and takes care of things, and all of the data that I was getting around me about the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a protected childhood. My parents were Republican. We went to church every Sunday, and it was increasing static about what was coming in. So from Kierkegaard, these sort of intuitions that I was having, the bottom line, this is absurd.
And he was religious.
And he was, he went to this church, and his church experiences were precisely mine. And in fact, it's a lot of wealthy people come in on Sunday and to get forgiveness, and then they go right back out and do it again. So I thought, and I did have a real connection with Jesus, and not this sweet little guy, but Jesus. He kicked these people out of the temple.
Right.
And here's the Beatitudes. This guy's not talking. And so what Kierkegaard says, guess what, folks? To follow this, first of all, it's absurd. This is absurd. What you're being asked to do is absurd. And that was resonating with me because, the Vietnam War, and then I was working in an inner city school, and I was seeing the raw data. Friends going over to Vietnam, coming back, a couple of them committed suicide. And the dissonance from the government line, all of those sorts of things are spinning around. And so, as I've looked back on it then, that was the beginning of a fundamental shift for me. And here's a discipline where what really matters are people that I'm going to read who are going to begin to make sense out of my world. I'm not a Christian. And I also realized, though, for him, he remained a Christian. But what he said was, okay, there are two forms of Christianity. There's the night of infinite resignation, right? And that's the person who goes to church every Sunday, and maybe I'll get a break when I get to the door, or whatever it'll be. And the other one was the person who takes this seriously, and they give everything to it. And I realized I was not in that category. There were deep things about this. And then my next class was with a Professor Ramakrishna Puligandla. And this was the next shift. What do I do? Because I had taken some Sartre in the existential class. And the existential class, I also realized Sartre really had some powerful things to say for me. What's the human condition? It's consciousness. And you can be an in itself, which is an object, deny this thing, or you can be a for itself, and you have freedom. Now you have a freedom that's terrifying, right? A freedom that's terrifying. If you have a fundamental project, if you get drunk all by yourself or you're a leader of nations, it amounts to the same thing. Now I felt a deep, deep feeling of there's got to be something wrong with this. But there are a lot of people running around in the world who want to be in itself. No, I can't get involved in this war. No, I can't be involved in this. That's not me. And he called it, I had a word for it, bad faith. Yeah. And there was so much bad faith around, and so the world starts to make a lot more sense to me. But it was such a bleak, and there was a part of me that said, no, there has to be, where did the joy go? So I meet with Ramakrishna Puligandla, and I found out there's a whole different way of putting the world together, right? Yeah. And with Rama, it was Hindu Shankara, or Buddhist Madhyamika Nagarjuna, and I thought, wow, suffering, first noble truth. First truth. And then what's the origin of the truth? And then here's a way to move out of the truth, okay? And so...
and taking account of the bad faith.
And that's right, also, right, taking account of the bad faith, but also then providing for me ultimately when I got to the university what the topic of my dissertation became. Because philosophy was not something that you did and studied and made presentations at conferences. I had gotten away from Christianity, but what's coming in its place? And so here was a framework to work with, but okay, but how does that respond to Sartre? So what happened with my dissertation was... Sorry. No, okay, I made it better.
Your dissertation happened here?
No, happened in, with Rama, my master's thesis, and I still love the title, was Moksha, Freiheit, and Nirvana.
Wow.
When you're a master's, you can just take on the entire world. Well, what I've got Hindu, and I've got Buddhist, and then I've got Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And so my dissertation was about what are these three ideas of freedom?
Yeah, freedom, and freedom.
Freedom. And I had one of the books that Rama had brought was Presuppositions of Medieval Philosophy. And it started out, it said, well, here's what it is. Freedom is an attitude. I'd never heard it that way before. It was one of the gifts of Rama. He had these ways of making it immediately accessible. It's an attitude, okay? And here's the attitude. Maximum concern, and minimum attachment. So I thought, wow, maximum concern, because I felt like at a certain level I had a maximum concern about human suffering.
Yeah.
Okay. But minimum attachment, I mean, I'd worked in a hospital. I had seen some really awful stuff. And one of the things you have to learn to do if you're going to be in surgery is to begin to detach from this crushed limb in front of you or this pain and all the rest. You have to be able to shut that down if you're going to be effective. But minimum attachment, so you care profoundly about something. You're ready to give everything you have to it, but you can't be attached to the outcome. And that also had really resonance for me because I realized that whatever I was going to be into, it was going to be maximum concern. Now I was beginning to get a conceptual framework to deal with all this, and that was all the Rama. And the next thing about Rama was he was so playful.
Oh, nice.
We used to play ping pong together, so I thought, there's this idea in Buddhism of a bodhisattva.
Right.
And I thought, Rama, to me, was an embodiment of a bodhisattva. And I said that to him, I was just, come on, Tom, get off that, okay? I'm just a person. Yeah. And he had that, that playful humility, but I thought, now I have a model of what I would think a philosopher would be.
So not just a theory, but an impersonation.
Exactly.
Of the
and
theory.
it was grounded.
Yeah.
And he was, and you come along with Madhyamika, okay? So there's theories and theories and theories, but there's a place beyond theories. And the ultimate nature of suffering comes from our attachment that my theory, my culture, my whatever, myself, has a place that's above everybody else, right? And in the, you know, so in the Madhyamaka, it was like, guess what? It's all empty. It's all empty. Now, what do you mean by empty? Well, all of these different theories are empty in the sense that ultimate reality, none of these folks will get you there, okay? So that was also a breakthrough for me as well. There is this realm, and it's not this mysterious thing. There's a lot of study that's, you know, there are different ways of getting there, but this thing was, your mind is getting in the way, but on the way your mind also potentially, if you go through the proper training, and the proper training, you know, is learning to calm the mind. And learning to begin all the things that attack you about anger and frustration and all the rest with practice.
Yes.
Over years.
Over years.
This is not a shortcut, right?
Right.
Because you can go and get medications for your anxieties and for your, what I call negative self-talk. You know, there are, ways around this, but this, you can do this. And with Rama, I got some suggestions of ways to do it. So those sorts of things, when I finished my master's thesis, I said, Rama, I want to do more of this. And he said, you know, there's one place in the world where you can do this. Yeah. And so the short of it is, 67 was the year of the March on Washington. Okay. So I went, and there was a meeting of the, the Comparative Philosophy Society was there. So I met Elliot Deutsch and all these people. I met Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
You know, there was all this energy. So involved philosophy, philosophers, and here's, so I talked to Elliot Deutsch and all those folks, and they said, you know, if you want to come, okay, submit your application, you know, your credentials sound fine. And if you indeed come and you're admitted, after the first semester, you'll get a teaching assistant.
It just occurs to me, people listening or watching may not have put together yet.
That often happens in my
that one
narratives.
place that we're talking about going.
Yeah, okay. So when I said to Rama, so I came back from DC, and I sent in my application. So I remember standing in Toledo, Ohio on the second floor of our place, and I get this thing, and the return address was, Philosophy Department, UH. And I opened it, and I said, Foster, guess what? We're going to Hawaii. What? Yeah, that was also, the game changers along the way.
Yes.
And when I think about, and as I look back on it from now, that a lot of that, what I was going through was what I want to call the examined life, in the nitty gritty of it. And the thing that further on about big P and small p philosophy is each of us in being engaged in what I was engaging in.
Right.
What am I going to do? And there were a couple of what I call the big P people that I wouldn't have been able to see the way I see. And that, so when I got here and I got the dissertation, and the dissertation it was gnawing at me about, Sartre, there's something wrong with this.
Is this your doctoral dissertation now? Or your
I'm thinking now.
Okay.
So in my master's thesis, but not so much my master's thesis as it was this lingering thing about Sartre and bad faith and such a rather dim view of where's the joy?
Yeah.
Struggling with all of that. And so so what hit me then was, okay, what is it that's in Sartre that gets at me? And I thought, it means the same if you get drunk all by yourself, or a leader of nations, that's being in nothingness. And I had a profound, if that's the case, what's the point of living? And so it's not an academic thing for me anymore.
Right.
This is a profoundly personal thing. And if that's the case, it's all over. Why would anybody want to live in a world like that, a world without joy? So then, from the background that I had, so I call that pernicious relativism. And then I had this experience with Shankara and with Nagarjuna, okay, that there's this word self. Now that was also this, the concept of self in Advaita Vedanta, or in Buddhism is, we use the word, but we don't know what it indicates. And so in the Sanskrit, there's the Atman.
Right.
Okay. And the Atman is and Brahman. And that particular narrative of reality is one. And so there's when all of this, when you're actually able to turn that off through the discipline,
Yeah.
then you begin to get glimpses, and then extended glimpses of a form of awareness that is pure awareness. And in the different, in Buddhism, it's a mirror,
Mhm.
and in the Buddhist, it's not that, but that there's this realm that's available to all of us if we do the discipline to get there.
And so you started that in Toledo?
No,
You
well,
started your practice of sitting?
with Rama, that's
Yeah.
right. Rama, I said,
Okay.
Rama, can you get me started on this?
Right.
And so that, just the breathing,
Yeah.
and the breathing is not going somewhere else. I mean, from Rama I
That's the
got,
practice.
this is really dangerous in the sense that as you start to get more and more able to turn off the noise,
Yeah.
there are aspects of consciousness that are gonna open up in you. And it's about that time that you better find a guru.
Mhm.
And I did he gave me a little one thing to do, and I don't know if you want me to go into that, but I
Sure.
thought, wow. Okay, so this was the exercise. It's about concentration.
Yeah.
Okay, concentration. So Rama said, okay, here's the exercise. Go up into one of your rooms, turn out all the lights, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna light a candle. And then and by then I could sit cross-legged, I could do all that I can't do anymore, you know?
I do know.
Yeah, and so, here's just, without stress, your
Mm-hmm.
look at that candle flame and see, can you, by concentration, eliminate everything else? Just the flame,
Mm-hmm.
just the flame. And indeed, after a while, I lost a sense of time, and there was this candle flame. And awareness, okay, there was awareness of a candle flame, and there was nothing else.
Right.
Now, in retrospect, that's what I realized, but then, so there's just a candle flame, and then I remembered beginning to have little intimations of, there's a space around me, I'm feeling there's a body, and I'm in a room,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was like, when people say they had an out-of-body experience, I'm thinking, in effect, that's what I was
Mhm.
experiencing. I
Mhm.
think that's what it is. And I returned to this room,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, that's the kind of place that you have to be able to get to systematically, because that's a portal to a whole lot of things that are going to open up.
Mm.
And there's a text, I think it's the Buddha Gosha Sutras or whatever, and it's like a manual of, these are the things that are going to unfold from the experience of the
Mhm.
folks who've
Mm-hmm.
navigated this terrain.
Right.
Right? And as Rama said, this thing with the candle flame, that's just to give you a little teaser,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But if you start to systematically do that, you better find someone who can guide you on when the other stuff starts to happen. Okay, it's joyful, it's intoxicating, it's terrifying, and you might get, in the pleasant stuff, you might get derailed and think,
Mm.
this is lovely here. No. So the guru, and I said, Rama, are you my guru? He says, don't give me that stuff. No, I won't go there.
Yeah.
So he had this wonderful mix of let's call it the spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
but also the kind of mischief that can lead to, oh my guru, da-da-da-da. No,
Right.
this is ultimately like what the Buddha said, try it out.
Yeah.
Don't take my word for it. That was Rama, let's be
Yeah.
playful, let's not get too serious.
But he put you on that path.
But he got me started, and so I had that in mind, and off and on over the years I would try this meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I gradually came to realize, like negative self-talk,
Yeah.
the more you become aware of what's going on in your mind,
Yeah.
there's a lot that's going on there that's not pleasant.
Right.
And that's part of the suffering. Where's it coming from?
Yeah, it's just
the
stories.
mind. It's stories, right?
You don't have to believe them.
Well, but that what you just said is, they're just stories. But to get to the place where you don't have to believe them, that was the next leap for me. How does that happen? Because they intrude. They drop in uninvited.
Right.
You know, this is crap what you're writing. This is not sufficient. And then, you know, I could sort of think, do we really have to go through that?
Yeah.
You know, could this be over? And then I read about, you know, Joseph Goldstein, some of these folks who went over and did what I call the Burmese boot camp. With all respect, you know, 8, 9 months out in the jungle.
Right.
Just sit there for 24 hours and let the mosquitoes bite and just ignore them. I'm not gonna do that, sorry, that's not my thing. But to realize that when I say we're not in a rush, that very much to the spiritual life. And this particular aspect, with this is just you and potentials that are within you.
Yeah.
But that are gonna take a lot of work, a lot of discipline. And I love the Tibetan, when the Buddha talks about meditation, he says there's analytic meditation. And the analytic meditation is you're able to quiet the noise. And then he says, that's when I do my homework. I mean, everything's what am I gonna do about the situation with China and all the awful things that are happening? Now, if someone said, are you angry at the Chinese? And he said, you know, I realize that that's a waste of energy. And when it comes from the Dalai Lama, you realize, wow, so to be able to analytically look at and look at your day's work, so it has a kind of practical grounding. But to get to that place, when these guys are saying it took me 15 years, I think, oh dear, I'm in a rush. So slowly I've found that. But so I had those wonderful experiences, and I had the deep satisfaction with Sartre again. What's the deal here? And so my thesis was, so that was the problem. Okay. My thesis was Sartre has an inadequate view of the self. And my dissertation was, what would an adequate view of the self include? And so I was able to unpack some of what that was involved, you know, understanding that the concepts that you have about the world are not the final story. So the final story of the self is, if that's still nagging away at you, you haven't arrived at that place. And it's not a withdrawal from the world. It's very much able finally to engage with maximum concern and minimum attachment. And to realize, like he does, the Dalai Lama, excuse me if I call you you, that to be not attached. And so as I thought, okay, now what am I gonna do? I graduated, what am I gonna do? So you know, I started the Hawaii International, I co-founded the Hawaii International Film Festival, and then I thought, this is not it. And
you graduated in '79, I looked it up.
Yep, 79.
And in '80 you started the International Film Festival.
80 to 84.
Okay.
Or 83. Yeah.
Okay.
80 to 83.
Yeah.
And it's still a roaring success.
Love that.
Yeah. But at the end of that, at 83, I thought, this is not for me. What's it going to be? So I'm thinking, examine life. I'm examining life. I'm with you, Socrates. You're thinking, am I ever going to find out what the heck this thing is? So, okay, what am I going to do? And then I had a colleague who said, you know, did you know there's this guy on the East Coast, and he's doing philosophy with children. And it was like this. Wow. So, found that, and then she said, you know, it's called Philosophy for Children.
Was that someone here, sorry, at UH who told you that, or?
Well, no, this was a colleague.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a colleague, and she knew, she said, you know, they tried this on the Big Island.
Yeah.
Right? 3 years they tried it on the Big Island. Barry Curtis, you know, and I forget the other woman's name. And so I thought, wow. So we talked to Barry a little bit, and we're off. I got a grant.
You got a grant?
Yeah, we got a grant to go
nice.
to go to Mendham
to Montclair.
for the 3 weeks to Montclair. Yep, we got a grant, and so, and I got to that, and as I've explained to many people, that experience, the theme of this congress or concept, you know, this meeting was not therapy but therapeutic.
Right. before you go into that, I just want to put a few dates down.
Yeah.
So I've looked this up. So the summer of 1978, Barry Curtis and someone else whose name was not put down.
No, and
Took a
it'll
workshop.
come to me,
Okay.
yeah, because it was, and she was Japanese.
Was he in the philosophy department here?
No, Barry Curtis was on the Big Island,
Yeah,
yeah, and and she was in the College of Education,
okay.
and her name was just very.
But he had some connection to philosophy, right? Because
Well, he was in the philosophy department.
Yes.
Now, how he heard about it, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how he heard about
Well, it
it.
said they took a workshop, they took an IAPC workshop early in the summer of 78. And then later that summer, I don't know if they went to Mendham or if Phil Cam came out here, I don't know.
Yeah, that much I don't know.
But later that summer, they started a teacher workshop, where was it? At one of the schools there, anyway, in Hilo.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, did you know Higa? What was his name?
Yeah,
William
he
Higa?
did the study. He did
Did
the
the study.
study. Yeah, so they had data.
They did an
that worked.
empirical study.
Yeah.
to see if it worked.
This worked, all of that good stuff.
Right, and that was, in the article it said that there were 12 schools that year, 78, 79, that were part of that study.
Yep.
Okay, and then
So they did that.
they did that, and
Yeah.
then,
What happened was, it was very successful. They had the data,
okay,
and the DOE cut the funding.
right.
Typical, right?
Typical, yeah.
Typical. And
Right.
Barry Curtis wrote, he kept the journal of the things, and a couple of things that he mentioned. One of them was that the teachers, they really loved aspects of this.
Yeah,
They loved it was with the children, but they really had trouble with the manuals
yeah,
and the demands of the manuals
right,
and how to figure out, okay, we got some amazing things that we're hearing, now what do we do?
mm-hmm,
So Barry would come every week then
mm-hmm,
and bring in the philosophical parts, and they were just baffled by that. How do you know how to do that?
mm,
And the other demand that what we want you to do is to look at the manuals, what are the different exercises, discussion plans
Mhm.
that apply to what the kids were saying.
yeah,
And I think that happened with Matt and
That's
you
tough.
guys as well. That was asking too much.
yeah,
There's too much in my schedule, I can't do that.
right,
And so what came out of that was Barry's realization that the teachers really need sustained in-class support.
yes,
Okay, so with that as a background, I went off to Montclair with Karen, and we had those 3 weeks together.
Karen,
Karen,
Morris?
no, it was, I'll have to look
Okay,
again what her
Okay.
name was. We went off, and it was just at the retreat house,
yeah,
and it was a setting.
and it was
where-
3 weeks.
And it was 3 weeks. And so 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
during the days, we would have these sessions. And then we had leisurely breaks, and then we had time together to talk and get acquainted.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was just, wow. And so, at the end, we all made a play. We took the last
Pixie
chapter,
plays?
right, the Pixie plays, it was playful, and I thought,
Yeah.
and it was that deep sort of, the therapeutic to me means at different levels of your being,
Mm,
you're being impacted.
yeah,
And this was the whole enchilada. I mean, this feels really like it should be. In this bewildering thing that they're using the word philosophy for,
mm,
this is real different from reading texts.
mhm,
I did Kant, all that sort of stuff, but it was so not accessible.
mm,
So, wow. And then, last week, and I still get choked up when I think about this. I'm right back there again, because I was in a different space-time
mhm,
continuum during that time. And so, they brought in these, I think they were maybe 4th graders, doesn't
Mm.
matter. It was summer,
Yeah.
they were out playing soccer, when I thought, well, these kids came out, had to do what, So they came in and they sat in a circle, and it was, who was with Matt, the sister, was it Phil? Who would it have
Phil
been?
Gwynn?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. So Phil Gwynn he's gonna be so they read Harry,
okay,
first chapter of Harry,
yeah,
and then what do you wonder about? And I thought, I'm watching. He's not telling them what to find interesting.
Mm-mm.
He's eliciting it from them. And it was, it was like this seismic, the plates that create these geological, it was seismic that way.
Yeah.
When I say this, it went all through my
Mm.
being. I'm not processing this anymore. Polanyi, the
Yes,
okay.
the tacit.
The tacit,
Yeah.
and I that's so powerful for me as well, because there was a knowing going on
Mm.
through my whole being
Mm.
about there's just, and it was in a way I couldn't process at a conscious level what was happening, but it was clearly happening, so that when those young people came in and they were engaging each other, and I thought, every child in the world should have this. This is just transformative.
Mm.
Those possibilities, and this is coming from children, and there was no longer a teacher, and they're following the teacher. No, the authority, if you will, was passed and distributed in that circle.
Yes.
And so when I came here, I came back and I thought, I just want to do this. Now, it was a very auspicious time because there was a critical thinking movement,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And there was national funding
Mm-hmm.
for programs that had been approved. And as you well know,
Yeah.
philosophy for children, you could get federal money.
Yes.
So we did get federal money. I actually found a bit of money, I told Ostrand eventually this is gonna lead to something, So started doing workshops. Well, I did presentations, leading up to what, our school's gonna be interested in this.
Yeah.
So I would do presentations. and-
At schools?
No, not yet, at conferences, there were
Oh, I see, yeah.
gatherings of people who were coming,
Okay.
a lot of the teachers
Yeah.
would come. And I mean, I wasn't fully aware yet that I love to be playful. But we would do Pixie episode 1,
Yeah. How can
and
you
the
not?
teachers would just,
Yeah.
and one of the people that came to me during that was the head of the Native Hawaiian and at Hilo,
Mm.
in that department.
Yeah.
And she said, I've been looking at critical thinking things, and I find critical thinking culturally offensive.
Mm.
This is the only thing that I've seen that speaks to our culture.
Wow.
And that was her, I said, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, really, wow. And these are sort of the deep structure things that were, for the changes that I felt.
Yeah.
And so,
Can you just say a little bit, what did she mean by the traditional critical thinking programs were offensive to the Hawaiian culture?
because in the critical thinking, it's about individuals developing skills and to attack or defend arguments.
I see.
And the thing in metaphors we live by, and they
Yeah.
say it's a combat model, model.
Right.
And for that culture, and I realized being here,
Mhm.
for the Asian, the Chinese, the Filipinos, the
Yeah.
Japanese, this kind of confrontational
Mm.
it's culturally, you have
Yeah.
lawyers, you have law courts and all that sort of thing,
Yeah.
are just part and parcel of what this is. And so she said,
Right.
we have in our traditional culture, something that we have recognized that was a real drawback, fundamental to what happened to us.
Mm.
Because hierarchy is everything. Our education system was children are to remain silent in the presence of adults.
Yeah.
And so the teaching is very much, you are quiet in the presence of the teacher.
Right.
And then you follow what the teacher wants you to do.
Yeah.
The teaching of hula is very much still that
Mhm.
model.
Mhm.
And that has a very important place. And so what you're providing for us, and as we started doing this, is they would invite, the idea of the circle,
Yeah.
right?
It's very Ohana, right?
Yeah, it's very ohana, and I found Hawaiian terms helpful to me. A pu'uhonua
Mm.
is a place of refuge.
Mhm.
In the Big Island, there's a pu'uhonua.
Right,
So
right.
in finding, how can I articulate what we're doing? We're creating a pu'uhonua.
Mm.
This is a refuge. This is more than just a gathering.
Mhm.
No, this is a refuge. And in this refuge, whatever you've done if you can get to this place on the Big Island,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you're safe now
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And so those kinds of things in this circle, you know, when we talk about intellectual safety, I mean, it grew out of those things.
Mhm.
Emotional safety, whatever you've done, whatever you're feeling, when you've established
Yeah.
this intellectually safe place. So if you go to this place, that's what you come here for.
Right.
Okay, well, is to feel that state. So
Yeah.
many things like that about, you know, so sitting in the circle, and the teachers would have the kids go out and bring in a flower that represents in the circle, and those sorts of things permeating it, and so that the kids could then would learn how to, with the elders, what do you think? And then that they could respond and act to the kids. So it was seismic in a quiet sort of way.
Nice.
Yeah. So
you're giving these presentations and
So-
talking to.
well, now these are things. So we had it was very short time, and we had numbers of schools that wanted to do this. So almost right away, I'm out on a regular basis in the classrooms,
Uh-huh.
which was, I feel like maybe of all the people, I have the most classroom experience, because 5 years, you know,
Yeah.
1 through 5th grade, every day I was going to a school, K through 6, and doing this, and with the ups and downs and the things, and
So just, I have to ask, administratively, is the University of Hawaiʻi sending you out to these schools?
what was happening was initially it was just, yeah, I was sort of based in the department, I had office space.
Okay.
Okay, and so, but what happened then was very quickly they wanted more schools wanted on board,
Mhm.
and one of the winner parts was what Barry had said. Somebody comes every week,
Yeah,
that makes a huge difference.
right.
And so we had set it up that, okay, there's gonna be a reward for the teachers who do this, okay? And one of the things is that, okay, we're gonna have, we're gonna do a training workshop, and the beginning was maybe 2 weeks, you
Yeah.
know, where they learned about what this was about. And then when they got started, you agree to do this twice a week.
Yeah.
I'll come one of the times,
Mhm.
and then you do it the other time, I won't be there.
Mhm.
And you're gonna get 3 hours of university credit, and we're gonna meet every week and come together,
That's the group of teachers.
the group of
With
teachers.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what they love,
P4T.
yeah,
Did you create that? Invent that?
yes, that, I mean, the
Yeah.
P4T came along after a while.
Philosophy for teachers.
Yeah, philosophy for teachers, and they wanted to do it.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, they
It's
wanted to
wonderful.
do this. This
Yeah.
was really wonderful, yeah. So, but
And where'd the money come from? Sorry,
so what happened initially was we got a small grant.
one of the federal grants?
It was, yeah, it was probably part of the
One of
federal
those-
grant,
one of
because
those
the
Title
federal
IV
grant
Yeah.
was also supplying some funding for the materials,
Mm-hmm.
okay, those sorts of things. So,
Let me just say, this was through the National Diffusion Network,
right,
which was part of the, used to be, before the Department of Ed, it used to be something else, in one of the, part of the interior, I think.
yeah.
The Office of Education,
That's what it was, yeah.
The Office of
yeah.
Education, and Philosophy for Children had been approved as one of their programs that they would fund in any state that wanted to do it.
That's right,
So
that's
you
right.
could apply for grants.
That's right.
Okay.
So then, you know, it was really successful, but there was only me, reasons why Karen left the thing, so there was only me.
Okay.
So what are we gonna do?
That's a lot of
We need
work.
somebody. And so, where could we find more people to do this? And
Mhm.
it was Roger Eames and Elliot Deutsch said,
Oh.
what if we get, what about graduate students in
Yeah.
philosophy?
Yeah.
You know, okay, where could we get the money? So we went down, Roger and I went down to the legislature.
I love this story.
Okay, yeah, I know, it's like this is miracle time.
Yeah.
And all along the way I felt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there
Yeah.
are some energies that keep coming together, whatever your metaphysics are. And being here in an island that acknowledges that there are forces beyond what our Western account in some
Yeah.
places has is what's real and what isn't,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. And so ways of knowing, all those kinds of things. So,
Went down to the legislature.
yeah, we went down to the legislature and we went to visit with the head of the Higher Education Committee in the Senate,
Okay.
Charlie Taguchi. Senator Toguchi. So we got in there, I had a copy of Pixie. I sat down, I said, no, this is what we're, now, and by then we were doing it in one of the schools. And the superintendent in that was, this is not like this. So I said, well, basically this is a project, and what we're about is creating a place that's really safe, where the children are able to comment and tell us what they're thinking, and they're exactly what our kids need. I mean,
Whoa,
yeah.
it's kind of convincing.
And he said, I'm so tired of going into classrooms, and there are types of lava to memorize. Our kids don't need that. They need to discover their voices and do it in a way that the teachers are part of this as well. He says, come to my meeting on Friday. So I go down to this is a big auditorium. And it's the meeting, he's head of the budget committee for education. And it's the Department of Education budget.
Oh, wow.
So it's packed from,
Yeah.
advocates. And along the wall are the officials.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the superintendent at the time was Hatanaka, and his nickname was Boozy Hatanaka.
Okay.
Yeah, which says a lot, You learn a lot about the local culture by doing this. And he says, Superintendent, are you listening to me? Yes, sir. Oh, yes, I'm listening. He said, I'm adding $120,000 to your budget for the next biennium. Did you hear me? How much? $120,000. Yes, sir, I heard that. And this is for a new initiative. And it's going to be called, and he leans over, there was a thing at that time called Poets in the Schools. So I said, it's going to be called Philosophy in the Schools. Okay, are you ready? You got that? Yes, sir, yes, sir. So suddenly, and $60,000 for a biennium back then, we were able to, I think it was 6 TAs.
Yeah.
And I was also able to get some money. Yeah, it was
It's
just
like a magic wand and it was there.
No, it was, that's a wow. So why am I enthusiastic and believing
Yeah.
in magic? Because these things are happening.
Yeah.
So, yep, we had, and one of the things then that was also discovered though was that there were the graduate students that wanted, eager to do this,
Yeah.
there were 3 years, like a 3-year contract that they had with the department. So it turned out that 2 of them were gonna be with me, and then 1 for the department to go on their,
Yeah.
what's that have to do with philosophy?
Right.
So, so they're gonna go out, and what they discovered was how they had developed a vocabulary that was very big P.
The students,
Yeah.
the TAs, yeah.
The TAs.
Yeah,
They had been
yeah.
acculturated to this.
Right.
And so, the part of the beauty of that was that then, when I was going to teachers, I made it clear from the beginning, this is a partnership.
Yeah.
I worship the pedagogical skills that you have.
Right.
And if it's not moving pretty well, to step in and help me, and if you're not understanding what I'm saying, it is, we came up with all those words, but it was a profound sort of relationship that we had. And I just want to bring in something about that. We met every week. They said the first time that we ever had K through 6 together as teachers.
As teachers.
As teachers.
Wow.
Because I'm
different
met by grade level.
Yeah.
If we're gonna decide on a textbook, we don't need anybody else here. Right?
Yeah.
But in that circle, they could talk, how's it going? And the safety was there, didn't work this week.
Yeah.
And others would say, yeah, it really worked really well.
Yeah, I remember these conversations.
You remember those?
Very rich.
Yeah,
Yes,
very,
yes.
very rich. And so,
And that they were doing philosophy. They were philosophizing. They were debriefing what had happened in the class, but they
Yeah.
were also like, what does this mean for education? What is this?
they didn't do that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they weren't doing that yet.
Well, by the time I got here, just a few years later, they were doing that.
Yeah, and they got into it. And the other thing is though, I don't think, they didn't often refer to philosophy. We're doing philosophy, we're doing philosophy.
Right.
Yeah, that was why I had this
Uh-huh.
feeling of, can we find a gentler way of just what happened?
Yeah.
And we developed, the criteria, how was to make that as part of what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Sorry, how did you prepare the TAs? I mean, by the time I got there, you were teaching a course.
That's right.
But how did it begin? Like, did you give them workshops, or how did that work?
Well, what I realized was that, yes, they had to have a training, so that was when I developed this semester class.
Okay,
So in order to be a TA in our project,
yeah,
you had to have a semester's preparation.
sort of deprogram from that.
Yes, right, right. Yeah, what's the one, you know, it's sort of Big P Anonymous.
Yeah,
And what they, you know, and the things that they really loved it, doing this.
Yeah.
And now, you know, well, for you, you
Yeah.
know, what they went out after they graduated, and they found that what they had learned made them very effective in introduction to philosophy,
Yeah.
wherever they were,
Right.
wherever they were. There are lots of, it's just one wonderful story, you know, because we did come up with this community ball.
Uh-huh.
Oh, maybe I should correct that. That was a first grade teacher,
really?
yeah, who said, Dr. J,
Ah,
I read about something that I think would be really, really work really well, and that is if you would have, we had a little push ball
Mhm.
that we were throwing at people, but this thing about making a community ball, and that's one of the many things I learned from being out with the teachers.
mm,
So at Waikiki, so this graduate students would have this course, and then they had 2 years of field experience
Yes,
with this.
yes.
And it was at elementary level, it was Amber and Chad that opened up the middle and high school.
Mhm.
Yeah, Amber said, we can do this in high school in our classes. So that sort of set in place, and my coming up with the things that we do about plain vanilla,
yeah,
you know, and the different sorts of supports for the teachers.
yes,
Um,
the magic words.
And the magic words, you
Mhm.
know, the Good Thinker's Toolkit.
Yeah,
Now, you know the history, I think I told you the history of that.
but tell it again.
Yeah,
While we're
and the
here.
history of it is, it was a conference in Ontario, I think. It was in Canada.
Mm.
Ganatakos, George, I think was his name.
Okay.
And he presented a paper on assessment.
Yeah, I know him, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he said, what we're doing is we have these letters. We have these 5 letters. And what we do is we'll get a transcript of a session. And then we'll ask the question, was it philosophical? Well, were they giving reason? Were they clarifying? Were they doing da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da? And so I thought, wow, that would be a great thing. Now not just after the session,
Yeah.
you know, let's put them all together and put a couple more together and give them to the teachers, because they always wondered, how do you know how to ask that? How do you know where to go? And it was like, that's the magic box. Oh, I see.
It's like we're keeping this a secret from
Yeah.
you. We're evaluating you on these 5 things. We're not
Yes.
gonna tell you what they are.
No, right. You did really well yesterday. Oh, no.
Wow.
So
So that was RAITEC.
That was RAITEC. So that part went on for 12 years. We got that funding.
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
And I came during those 12 years, I just wanna say.
yeah. Yeah. Do you know, and
yeah.
there's a lot of this story that I think are relevant, and you can edit it, but I think they're important to the story about what I was learning.
Please.
One of them was, one of the schools we were going to was the 3rd year, end of the 3rd year. And I'm about to leave the school, and the principal says, Dr. Jackson, could I talk to you for a minute? Sure. So I thought, we know when the principal calls you, I wonder what this is about. Said, would you close the door?
Oh.
And I was in many places as a kid. I closed the door, what can I call you, Mommy? So he said, okay, first thing I want to tell you is how much I value your program and what you're doing. My teachers have been changed by this. Our kids have been changed by this. So I wanted you to know that at first before I tell you what's next. What's next is, he says, I have been a principal for 30 years. This is my last day. And one of the things that I've learned as a principal is that the average life of a program in the DOE is 3 years. And it doesn't matter how good it is or how bad it is. there are 3 increasingly seriously blows to a program. And the first one is, you have teachers and they're really excited about it and they do it, okay? But, you know, after maybe a year or so, some of them leave and you have new people that come in.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you have some way of sustaining them, and then when the new people come in, we can predict in 2 more years, it'll be gone, okay? So first of all, you know, you have the training, they're enthusiastic, but if you don't do that, and the next thing is, if you get a new principal.
Right, yeah,
Right?
I've seen that, yeah.
You've probably seen that, right?
Yeah.
And whatever the crap was that you're doing, this is a new deal with you.
New regime.
The new regime, yeah, it's starting now. This is called a coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and the most damaging is if you get a new superintendent. Because the new superintendent wants to show that the bad grades and all the scores are all the rest. So I have a whole new program for you. So if it happens that any of these things happen and you find that, closing up shop, that it was not in any way what you're doing. And I just wish you the best of luck as you continue along.
What a nice
Isn't this,
gesture.
you know, isn't
Yeah.
that a gesture?
That's lovely.
Like that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And there were numbers of things along the way as I got to know people who really loved this, that were really,
Yeah.
you know, supportive that way. So when they cut it, and after 12 years,
But it went 12 years, not 3, that's,
no, I mean, that's right, so it was 9 more years after that,
Yeah.
so 12 years.
that's something.
That's amazing.
It is.
And another strategic thing that I learned out of, and partly out of that,
Huh?
was the demand for more schools. We're gonna shrink it,
Yeah.
and we're gonna develop what we came to call model schools. So after 10 years, this first school that we were working at, new principal. And yeah, that
10
was
years.
10 years.
Wow.
And the teachers said, you know, we're gonna continue doing this. And they did, you know, you can subvert what's,
Close the door and
yeah, close the door,
Bring out the
do what you
community
really
ball.
wanna do, right, make a community ball. So, and that was, you know, why did he have to be right? But I thought, okay, now, at that time, so this is around, you know, it's just about 2000, you know,
Yeah.
into that. And I had a graduate student who had done the P4C, just the class and whatever, and he called me and he said, Dr. J, I think I have a school for you. Yeah, I've been here, I've been doing my practice teaching for 2 years, and it just seems to have a good feel. So I talked to the principal, how about would you make a presentation to the faculty? Sure, I'd be glad to do that. So did that, they were very interested. Turns out this was Waikiki Elementary. And the next year they got a new principal, Bonnie Tabor,
Uh-huh.
who became,
Yes.
yeah. And so we did it and it took off. And so as we're doing this together, it became a place where we could bring other people to
Yeah,
visit and all
like a
that, you know?
demonstration school.
Yes. Now, that's going back a bit because the graduate students were still going,
Mm-hmm.
you know, during those years, and they loved it. And so what's gonna happen without the graduate students? And it was like, we'll keep doing this, we'll keep doing this. Because what the department said was, well, what are you gonna be doing now?
Oh, so you're talking about this is when the DOE funding is dried up?
So,
Is
when,
that why
yes,
the graduate students won't be going anymore?
that's right,
Okay.
yeah.
I have to pause and just tell my little 30-second, when I was here, because I was here with the East-West Center.
Right,
And so I was not a TA through DOE funding, but this was because I had to be doing something for my East-West Center scholarship.
mm-hmm.
And so they let me do P4C for them as my involvement with the
nice.
university to justify my
I got it.
scholarship. But the DOE did pay for the plane tickets.
Yeah,
So-
for the flights back and forth.
So I just
yeah.
I tell this story all the time.
Oh, nice.
At the beginning of the semester, you would hand me a book of plane tickets. And every Monday morning, I would rip one off,
Okay, what's the shady stuff
bus to
about
the
this?
airport, and fly to Maui,
Yeah.
where the principal would pick me up, drive me to Paia, little one-horse town at the time.
Isn't that wonderful?
And I would do P4C all afternoon with second and third graders, and then fly back.
Oh,
magical.
That just gives me chicken skin
Me
still
too,
to
right?
remember
It's
it, you know? Yeah.
I tell that story, people are like, what? And I said, and paid for by the state of Hawaii,
Yeah.
Department of Education.
Yeah, well, and it worked really well because the money went to the university, so the university could
Yeah,
say,
exactly,
you know,
right.
no, it's not DOE money, that's the university
Right,
money.
right, right.
No.
Yeah,
Well, give them the details of this, could we please? It's money that's coming
Nice.
from them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That, and those were really halcyon years for the graduate students. Another one went to Kauai every weekend.
I remember, yeah.
Remember him,
Yes.
right? And he went fishing. Said, "I'm going to stay the weekend."
Why
Yeah.
not?
Oh, many,
Yeah.
many sweet things.
So 12 years of that, and then the DOE.
And
stopped.
so the funding, you know,
The funding
stopped. And yeah, as I say, that was partly.
Do you remember what year that was? It would be around.
I should be clear about the dates.
Well, it'd be around. It'd be the early 2000s, right? 2001
Okay,
or 2. I
okay,
think.
and that's, yeah, that would be about right. Yeah, because first the department thinking, well, we have to find more classes for you to teach because, you know, I thought,
Right.
I've been going out, what's this all about anyway?
Because you were a full-time specialist with the department.
Yeah, yeah, and I might have, I think I had tenure by then.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it, the good, really nice part of it was, by then I had published some stuff. I
Mhm.
was with Matt, you know, I was going to
Yep.
Brazil, and I had all
Yeah.
these sorts of things. So when I applied for, there's some other sweetness here.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I was in this temporary position, and my money was also coming out of the DOE money.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there was every semester, or maybe every year, every month, the then president of the university would invite some faculty person to do a presentation of their work.
Mm.
And they would gather people from the community
Mhm.
that were somebodies.
Yeah.
And so Roger, bless him, he was invited to present his work in Chinese philosophy. And he said, Tom,
Roger Ames.
I told him,
Yeah.
you should present what you're doing, because that's really interesting.
Uh,
So it was from the state legislature, from the Department of Education, from, you know, in College of Education, any affected sorts of things. So here's on the patio, and I did a pixie,
wow.
and they had a great
With kids?
time with the people that were there.
Oh, with people. Even better.
Yeah, I know, right? And here's another
Yeah.
one of those amazing things of the magic, because at that gathering was Kengo Takata, who was the superintendent for the district, Windward District, and he loved this,
Mm.
what it was doing for the kids, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So I learned later that he went up to the president and said, Mr. President, we really like this a lot. Now, in the past, we've been in connection with the university, but we got burned because we did all the support.
Mm.
So we would greatly appreciate if you would pick up the salary of the director.
Wow.
You know? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
and it might be that
Director of the Philosophy in Schools project
That's right.
at UH, in
At
the philosophy
UH, in the
department.
philosophy department,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And what that meant though, was it meant they had to create a brand new position.
Uh-huh.
And I got to write my job description.
Wow.
How often does that happen, right? Yeah,
When
so
was this? Was this
I'll have to see what the date was.
post DOE funding or during?
Yeah, that was after the DOE
After-
funding.
after, okay.
Yeah, it was after the DOE
Okay.
funding. I should check that to make sure.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and so, yeah, because then I was doing that, and then I was applied for tenure and promotion.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a specialist, and so at the department meeting, I got reports then later. How can we give him tenure? I mean, he hasn't published anything. I mean, what is he doing that's philosophical?
But specialists were eligible for tenure, right?
They were,
They must have been.
they were,
Okay,
but that was one of those things about, this is the way that
yes,
discipline sees itself,
right,
you know.
right.
So, yeah, what are we gonna do? On the other hand, you know, we had all this support for graduates, you know, and it's got a great picture
Mhm,
outside.
mhm.
So, Jim Tiles,
Yeah,
okay, Dewey specialist,
yeah, I remember him.
you remember him?
Yeah, he was great.
All these stories come to me along the way, because at one point I knew Jim was a Dewey expert,
Uh-huh,
and I said, Jim, you know, people say, and Lipman says, Dewey is really very important in the work we do.
yeah.
Now, I had an American philosophy class as an undergraduate, and I heard the name Dewey. But what all this, I think I ought to read some things about Dewey. And he says to me, Tom, you don't have to read Dewey, you're doing Dewey. That's why these little
Yeah.
vignettes,
Oh, that's
they're
great.
sort of the, you know, along
Yes,
the way.
Yeah, so he must have supported your tenure.
Oh, he absolutely, because in the meeting, they're saying, so what are we gonna use? What's the support? And he said, okay, we publish. Okay, why do we publish? Well, it's to get word out about the work that we're doing, so that to make that known. So he said, let me show you the list of the presentations he's made.
Mm,
Now, all the islands,
mhm,
then there's Brazil,
mhm.
and I don't know, maybe we had, if we had already had some things with China, I don't
Uh-huh.
know. But it had been
I think you had,
translated.
because, yeah,
Yeah.
China was a while ago. The first China
Okay.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the materials had been translated. So he said, look at this.
Yeah.
This is he is known
Mm,
around
mm,
in places within this particular discipline.
yeah.
And Matt Lipman wrote this phenomenal letter, as you know he can do. I still have the letter.
Do you have it? I need
have
a copy of that.
Okay, I'll give you.
I'm writing it down.
Okay, yeah, copy of that letter. You know, because when it was, but here's from Matt Lipman and what he had to say about what I was doing and the importance of it. So there's that I did have tenure,
Mm-hmm,
so they couldn't just let me go,
yeah,
but they wanted to increase the load, and I thought, you know,
the teaching load.
yeah, the teaching load, because I was just doing the 492,
Right.
yeah?
Right.
So increase it to other stuff,
492 was the P4C course.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I think they have this, their idea what they think is I go and I sit in classrooms and I don't, they had really not much of an
Mhm,
idea.
mhm.
So, see, all these things that converge. So there's no more graduate students anymore. It was a requirement as long as there was funding. And so I think Pontico, who was the chair at the time, she said, well, let's do away with it as a requirement for the graduate students. I mean, you know, they're not going out to school, they're not going out to
Okay.
schools anymore.
Yeah.
So one of the graduate students organized an email that went out to all the graduate students who had done this. What do you think of this? And I still have the thing that came back. Are you out of your minds? I know I learned how to teach
Yes,
by doing this.
yes.
And another little anecdote, one of the fellows that was here, Jung Kim, he went out to interview for a job at a school, or at a department,
Mm-hmm,
okay, for a position in philosophy at Kent
mm,
State. He's still there.
mm,
So when he went in for the thing, the students that are there for the demo are in rows, and he puts them into a circle. He gets an eraser, because we didn't have a community wall,
yeah.
and used that.
Clever.
And at the end of it, they hired him, said, we have not seen anybody else that was able to get our students to open up the way you just
Really?
did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's another wow.
Yeah.
I'd love this opportunity to lay this all out
I do
for you.
too. I'm
Do you?
loving this,
Okay,
absolutely.
good, because I feel like it's such a blessing what's happened and the
Mm.
things that have happened,
Mm.
why we went to China, all of those sorts
Mhm.
of things. So, and maybe that's for another time. Or can I tell you just a little bit of the teaser for that?
No, please, yes, absolutely. I'm not in a rush.
Okay, because there was a woman in the department, she was here for this thing, Jing Mei.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Jing Mei, And she'd come here from Nanjing to get her doctorate, and in her first semester, she took my philosophy for children.
Mm-hmm.
She told me later that her English was terrible, and she thought, this is about children, so maybe I can understand what's going on.
Lucky accident.
I know, but as this thing moved along, she really, and so she was a
Yeah.
TA, and she went out to the school and saw what it was. And then maybe first year into her being a TA or second year, she started saying, Dr. J, China needs this.
Mm.
I'm like, that looks interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, it really needs. Is it okay if I write to some people that I know in China and see what happens? Sure, go ahead. Like 2 weeks later, a phone call rings. Hello, is this Dr. Jason? Yes, this is Dr. Jason. Hello, my name is Yen Chun. I live in Manoa. Got it. And I've gotten a notice. I'm a trustee of the Sung Ching Ling Foundation. I had no idea who Sung Ching Ling is, right? And I've gotten a notice that they're, you have expressed interest. They're interested in knowing more about what you do.
Mm.
Could we have lunch together?
Mm.
So Jing Mei, Yen Chun, and I had lunch together, and then we took her to the school. And at the end of that, Waikiki now, which
Right,
is
the
a great
demonstration
place to
school,
go.
yeah.
At the end of that, she said, China really needs this.
Mm.
So the next thing I know, we're going to China that summer.
Wow.
Whew, wow, again,
As
right?
fast as that.
Yeah, fast as
Yeah.
that. It's a long story, isn't it?
It's a great story.
Okay.
Was she the first, I know she did her dissertation on something about Harry and logic and can there
Yeah.
be a Chinese Harry or something like that, right?
Yes, yeah, and there were two things that came together in that. Is could there be, oh, yeah, I think of somebody at Hong Kong University, Hanson, whatever his name is, and he had said there could be no Chinese logic.
Ah,
Yeah,
oh, so she was responding to that.
she was responding to that.
Interesting.
And the reason was that there was no copulative, there was no is,
Mm.
so you couldn't have.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, so part of her dissertation was to show that indeed there could be a Chinese logic, and then she taught there's Chinese logicians,
Mm.
and how the logic had to do with what, metaphor and a knowledge of a bandwidth. And so
Yeah.
you could assemble, or examples,
Mm.
and put those together in a line. It was recognizable
Mhm.
that there was a logic
Mhm.
going on.
Mhm.
Okay, and so there was that.
Sorry, was that the first dissertation on that used P4C?
Toby
Here?
was the first.
Toby was the first. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he said that he started first, but she finished first, right? I think that's what he said.
Okay, that could be. I don't know if that. Yeah,
Okay,
check
whatever,
that
either
with
way.
them.
I'll
yeah.
check that with
I
them.
can.
Okay.
What year was it? 1944 that I was born.
Because I remember being so delighted, impressed that philosophy dissertations were coming out of the UH philosophy department on P4C.
Yes,
That was
yeah.
a huge breakthrough.
Wasn't it though? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, for us too. So, and Toby's was an effort to say, okay, so what is P4C?
Mm-hmm.
And what does he see as central to what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, and what he came to was, this is basically about and around judgment
Mm-hmm.
and developing good judgment. And then good part of it was, so what's meant by good judgment? I think Jim Tiles was on his committee.
Mm.
Yeah, and then the way he unpacked that, discernment,
Yeah.
and then all of the things that would be part of, I can't remember the name, but anyway, there's some folks that had there's a lot written about judgment and good judgment. So it was about good judgment and how that would happen and examples from classroom and all the rest. So, and then Jingmei was this about, could there be a Chinese logic?
Mm-hmm.
And so part of it was her, sort of the philosophical part of it. And then the other part was, okay, he's saying that they wouldn't be able to understand, like, the copula, the is things.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, well, we're gonna do an experiment. We're gonna take the first chapter of Harry, okay, and we'll record a group of sixth graders at Waikiki Elementary.
Yeah.
Have them read the first chapter. What are the questions are that they come up with? And then what is the discussion like?
Right.
After that. Then we were gonna do this in China. Same thing. She translated it into Chinese,
Yeah.
they did that, come up with their questions, and then what was their discussion like? And what she found out was the Waikiki kids were onto the rule.
Mm.
Okay, and how did that work? And the logic of the rule and all those sorts of things and unpacking that. Well, the Chinese students were interested in the relationships of Harry, and with special attention to Harry with, the scene at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how all that unfolded.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they talked about, but using the examples and, all the metaphors and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So she said, they're the Chinese doing logic in a sense that we would understand it, criteria,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera, yeah.
Nice.
And another thing that she had was, I think it's Gödel, the man,
Mhm.
Gödel, the math and the logician and whatnot, about the ability of, logical systems,
Mm-hmm.
and how there's a space, a logical space that apparently he talks about, okay, where you have a logical system, but then you can move to this space into another system that's different. And she says that's precisely what, if you see English
Yeah.
and you see a pattern of logic, you can carry over
Mm.
into another system and see that there are criteria
Right.
that will apply,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily, doesn't have to be the same criteria,
Yeah.
but there are certain structural family resemblances or whatever it is.
Nice.
So that was,
Yeah.
still
That's
chicken skin
beautiful.
stuff, yeah, and then, yes, so,
We haven't. I don't know when they're going to kick us out of here at 3:00, but I'm just going to keep going until they do. Is that
good,
okay?
I love it, oh, absolutely.
But just in case, there are, I forgot to ask, going back to Mendham, are there any particular memories or impressions that you had of Matt Lipman or Ann Sharp or anybody else there that you remember? Like what were they like back then?
It's too strong to say, well, I fell in love with both of them.
Mm.
They welcomed me in such a wonderful way. Karen, they said, you have to get rid of her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
On-
And I knew because
On what
Karen,
basis? What did they know?
Karen had a way of, I know it all. I'm the philosopher in residence, and I can, when she did her sessions, she would intervene. And no, that's not philosophically correct, there's da-da-da-da. So she was just overbearing
Mm.
as a presence, she hadn't.
Was she from the philosophy department here? I see, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that was really one of those, how well I knew, how quickly close we had become. So
Right.
she's a liability.
Interesting.
We've seen her with the people here, and she has this,
Mhm.
come to me, I know, and I can now quote you on numbers of people and who they're, all the toxicity that's in that model.
Yeah.
So when we got back here, and we would do presentations to teachers together and do demonstrations. And here's just one example of the numbers it would have. She would have, we would be going out to school and we're gonna do Harry, first episode, first chapter, and we would take turns. She would facilitate, so she said, I have an idea I wanna try. Okay, that's what we're doing. So she had each teacher read a single sentence.
Mm.
And they went through. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Karen, whatever. So it got to the end, and she said, well, what did you think? And the teachers were just bewildered. I didn't understand anything of that. It was going too quickly, I couldn't follow. Karen says, well, with our more capable teachers, they've gotten it right away.
No.
You see?
Yeah.
And there were, and
Matt and Ann were right.
oh, they were so right. And, there were a couple of times that would happen, and then I would say, Karen, you just can't do that.
Mm.
She was unaware And so there were several times
Yeah,
that
it
happened.
is an awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an awareness. I said, Karen, you have to quit. You can't do this anymore.
Mm.
You have to find something else.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times when I said, Karen, this is not gonna work. And she'd start crying and she'd say, I don't know, I can't help myself. I can't help it, that's just what I would do.
Yeah. Okay.
She had a razor sharp intellect
Yeah.
in this capacity,
Yeah.
and to play the rules in a way.
Yeah.
So
So she was really good at that.
She was really good at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she just is not made for this.
Mm. Well, and obviously Matt and Nan saw the opposite in you.
Right. And so the way that I
Decided
felt
about
it, but there was like a closeness that I felt with
Mm.
them right away. And then all along the way, the confidence that they had
Mhm.
in me, that they appreciated what I was doing in redesigning and working with the lower L, and that Elfie was really a problem.
Mm.
And I came up with the startup kit,
Yes, that's right.
and I did,
Yeah.
what I did.
You did really innovative things
Yeah,
that they had not done.
right. And I felt honored that they paid attention to those things.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the Elfie, that the language is just not working with kindergarten and
Mm.
first graders. So I came up with this idea, instead of the whole thing, I will take a little bit of it and we'll pretend that this is a letter to the class.
Mm.
And then you'll read it to the class, and then, Elfie has some questions for you. What do you think?
Nice.
And I'll send it back to Elfie, and then the next time we get a letter, well, I'll tell you what Elfie said. So they loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And Elfie come in the lunch, she'd go down to the office and go back with an envelope,
I've never heard that story. That's
Have
so
you?
great.
Well, and lots of the stuff that I do, I think,
Yeah.
there's a teacher at the root of this somewhere. So, but in that they also had that trust in me,
Mm-hmm.
that, like to go down to Brazil and to do those things.
Mm.
And then with when they did the thing with, was it the doctorate or the master's? And with, I can picture her name, was that in Mexico?
Terry de la Garza.
Yeah.
That's where I went, yeah.
No, and Chris then.
And Chris, that's right.
And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prepared her and certified her that she could do,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that good, all
My-
that
She
good
and I were
stuff.
roommates the whole time.
And that, and also with Matt, that the money, there were royalties that were coming in from the sale of the materials.
From the sales here in Hawaii.
Yeah,
Yeah?
and he always sent me the check.
Mm. I didn't know that.
That's what I wondered, I
I
thought,
bet the MSU administration didn't know that.
probably not, probably not, but I
But
mean,
how great.
What, that was
Yeah.
the generosity that he had. And the there was a warmth about him. There's the picture of him with the kids sitting,
Mhm.
and he talked about an experience of sitting there and Elfie, and he read something, nobody said anything, he read something more, nobody said anything, he just patiently sat with them, that picture with them. Eventually they asked something.
Yeah.
And so these things that I think that are part of me, we're not in a rush.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a pressure to go to the manual, oh, it's not going anywhere, no.
Yeah.
He just thought, we're not in a rush, and the kids
Mhm.
absorb that, they
Mhm.
know.
Yes.
They know this is not an adult.
They can feel it.
Yeah, this is somebody who really knows.
Mm.
And also how, his ideas about, if you want to change, there's 3 different ways to think about it. Big change. Family, you probably, family, legal, law,
Yeah. Yeah.
change the legislatures,
Yeah.
and education.
Yeah.
And he chose education, because he obviously, it was like, and that dream, that philosophy actually had a major player in education.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, in all the things that I had done with the big P stuff, in realizing this has nothing to do with what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's an arrogance about this. I benefited tremendously from this, but it was selective.
Yeah.
And as you know from going through the process, that
Yeah.
there are things, we had to, I think of the, we had, you know, one of the exams was the history of Western philosophy. And when I got here, it had been like 8 years since anybody had passed that exam.
Is that right?
Yeah. And what I heard was that it was the vindictiveness in the department against one student or another. If you got the whole history, you can certainly put something together, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, what was
Yeah.
Spinoza's deodorant? Whatever it was.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
something I think about a lot with, in the contemporary movement. So much of the focus has shifted to, let's just find little pockets of opportunity where we can let kids philosophize and, you know, free that up, which is, I totally believe in.
Right.
But that vision of, no, we also need to get teachers involved, and parents and principals involved, and start to make inroads into, and educational theorists involved, and, you know, make
Right.
inroads into this big change
That's right.
you're talking
that's right,
about.
Right.
I don't hear a lot of that these days.
Well, with the teachers wanting to do P4T, when I came up with that
Yeah.
finally, you know?
Yeah.
And realizing that they really wanted to do more, they wanted to go deep, and I wanted to do that and to try to figure out a way to do that. And so there were two other things in there that I wanted in there, and one of them just fell off the table, but the other one was trying to negotiate that with, again, what was the big P part, what's going on in philosophy that really touches the heart.
Mm.
And so, like the big P, okay, there were two women that were pivotal for me in making this happen. It was Windward District, where the superintendent
Yeah.
had been there. Okay,
Yeah.
the gifted and talented, two people, Joan Yanagi and Evie Terramon, I think was her name. They just loved this with a passion, and they set up different things for me and made it really, and all was supporting. And so finally they said, you know, how about, this is critical thinking, how about, would you be willing to run, over the semester, we'll have 4 meetings, and you can acquaint these, whoever signs up, what the different critical thinking programs are out there. Sure, I'll do that. And so we did, and we had those, and we did it. And they asked a second year, do you want to do a second year? Yeah, we want to do a second year, you know, so we did a second year. And I wasn't using really P4C stuff yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a third year, and so I said, you want to do it a third year? So I said, okay, I want to do Big P with these teachers.
Mm.
And so we picked logic, epistemology, and maybe ethics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the epistemology, we had Jim Tiles.
Wow. Great.
Yeah. And, okay, what are the readings? Well, he had something from Aristotle and something from Plato.
Uh-huh.
So I said, have him read this, and let's make sure it's okay. So I had him read it. And because it's real safe, you know, when we met again, I said, we haven't got a clue of what this means. We've never read anything like this. So I said, well, let's talk to Jim. And so I said, Jim, this is the deal. I said, well, can we meet? Sure. So then they told him, you know, they said, we just don't think like this. This is just not. And he was so gracious and wonderful about it. And he just said, yeah, I can see Aristotle was not a good choice.
That's so Jim, yeah. That just.
Isn't that
Yes.
wonderful?
Yeah.
You know? And these are local, you know, women that generally don't see themselves as,
Mm-hmm.
you know, heavy duty. And
Yeah.
so they were really thinking, what are they gonna, no problem. But he said, but Plato, that's actually just dialogue. And they said, we don't talk like that. And again, he was so gracious about it.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know what he did in the end, so we did do some epistemology, I know, and Mary did something that had to do with logic, but in such an accessible way.
Yeah.
So, those things that I was doing along the way to make this thing, broaden it, you know,
Yeah.
and find a way of making the big P stuff accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So how we got, I'm trying to think of how, so those things, oh yeah, well, of course. Once Amber, and Chad came on board, Amber took my class
Mm-hmm.
and had one of those, this is it.
Yeah,
She's a practice, she's in
Yeah.
College of Education.
yeah.
This is it.
So they were both here as doctoral students.
Well, they were in, they were in the master's program.
Master's first.
Yeah, master's first, and
Yeah.
the MET program.
Okay.
And so, Amber did her thing then on, I forget what, I can't remember what her master's thesis was, so it was very much on this. And she started doing this with her students.
Mm-hmm.
She was one that, many of the things one of them was, hey, you know what, we've been doing all the, coming up with lesson plans and running on, the kids can do this.
Hmm.
Kids can do this. So she would meet with them before, come up with what you want to do, what you want to talk about, and do you have a lesson plan?
Nice.
And she and Chad were together, and Chad was noticing what she was doing, and so I want to try that. So he brought Chad on board, and he was
Yeah.
doing it with his students. And what began happening was the students were saying in their other classes, why can't you do what we're doing in Miss Manoa's class? Or Mr. Miller's class.
Now they weren't just doing P4C, they were teachers, right? They were teaching.
They were teaching, and Amber was
Social
social
studies,
studies.
yeah.
And, and Chad was English.
Yeah, okay.
So, and Amber, and I have to remember how this happened. Kaido High School had the highest fight rate in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And in 2020, I think that was when we started at Kaido High School. In 2020, a new principal came on board. They had something like maybe 30 lockdowns.
Wow.
Helicopters were
Oh,
coming in to break up what was going on.
Yeah.
It was gang stuff.
yeah.
Filipino against the Chinese and
Mm-hmm.
the Samoans against all of this and that, or the military people coming in, and it's just a lot of that stuff. So Amber and a colleague, Kehao, heard about a program in LA, in a neighborhood that was just similarly just
Mm-hmm.
flying apart. So they come up with an ethnic studies program.
Mm.
And the new ethnic studies program was about, we got to do something about focusing where they are and their ethnicities and make that center point. So that's what they designed this.
Those programs.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So they realized, so they put together Amber using the P4C framework. And then it was creating the safe community, and all that was involved in that. But then, one of the things they did was with a novel, a local novel, and focusing on, okay, what's your picture of what it means to be Samoan?
Mm.
Or what are the various things? And then, is this true about this? And then getting the safety of, what do you think about each other? What inferences do you make?
Mm-hmm.
And and it started as a pilot after school, just to get these folks together, and it was so successful that the principal said, yeah, we ought to move this into the school day, and then we ought to make this as a course.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Amber won from the Morris Dees, the Poverty Law Center, right? Teacher of the Year,
Yeah.
what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so then, I think, that must have been then she, as that was happening, maybe she got into the College of Education then, and that was her dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was somebody from the medical school, from the School of Psychiatry, and they did a 3-year study of the change
Oh.
that was clearly traceable to what she was doing, and now how it spread throughout the school.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's a big deal.
oh, and then the next very big deal about that was when, and during that, one of those years, we were able to get a grant for Chad a one semester leave of absence so he could write his dissertation. And his dissertation, there were two questions. One was, why is it that philosophy hardly ever shows up at the pre-college level? What's this about? What's this about? And what he found from that was, the perception was, this is only gifted, talented who are adapting it. This is for the gifted kids, right? That sort of thing. And so it had that kind of an aura about it. When I talk about Big P now and feeling, to just, and to find, to make it, and I think you're right, and people, that's softening a bit, but amongst the teachers and so on, it's like, puzzle, and I'd rather not have them puzzle about this anymore. And if we can make wonder the centerpiece of this, and part of my other thing is, okay, how can I legitimate this? And part of it starting with the theaetetus. Okay, it's our nature. Yeah, it's our nature. And I really want to write more and share some stuff with you as I'm trying to articulate that.
Absolutely, I would love that.
And do it together, you know.
I want to ask you, because I want to get the Uehiro Academy, like that.
Oh, right.
But
okay.
How did you sustain your program funding between when the DOE stopped and the Uehiro stepped in?
I think that was the no more graduate students. So by then I was tenured, so I was covered. Yeah. And I mean that I was the only. I think I was the only one because Ben. Ben's story is really wonderful too. He got. Well, let me answer that one. Okay.
So you were just going to the schools yourself.
Well, so that's right. That it was. It was. They kept doing it. The teachers kept doing it. Yeah. So I knew there. So there wasn't. It wasn't like we were bringing new people on anymore, and we had decided anyway. It was
right to
Waikiki
consolidate.
Yeah, and Kailua High School. Okay. And these are our model schools, and people could go and visit. All of that. You want to see, go. Let me show you what it looks like. Yeah. And then, as they were at the College of Education, and it started to be, we could place their teacher candidates to do their practicums on site. Yeah. Yeah. So all of that, it was really spreading that way. So I think it was, maybe I should say it was 2012 that Renee comes over, secretary, and says, there's somebody who wants to talk to you in the lounge. So I go in there, and there's this gentleman there, and says, Noboru Maruyama. And he said, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me. And we made eye contact almost right away. And he said, Carl Becker had mentioned you to us. He had graduated from here, and he now had a position at Kyoto University. Oh. Yeah, and his dissertation topic had been Japanese, the Japanese culture on death and dying, and this huge problem in Japan with death and dying, where families are not talking about it. And if one of the parents has a fatal illness, we just ignore it, and the pain that involved. So what Carl was able to do was set up a kind of not a clinic, that's not the right word, but a place and a program where people who were in that position could see and bring about a cultural shift and see how much, be able to begin to talk about how painful this was and not being able to communicate with each other and what can we do together to shift this. So he knew about what I was doing and the safety and all those kinds of things. I think at one point he came with someone else, an educator, that saw what we were doing and thought this is really amazing. So they were funding Carl. So Noboru came and he said, what we're looking for is somebody at a university faculty who's going out and somehow meeting with teachers and has a respect for them as professionals. He said, I'm thinking, and we're making eye contact like this right now, and he can feel that there's this.
Yeah.
warmth moving between the two of us. The disdain that these people have. Ooh,
They're telling us we got 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes, okay.
Keep going.
Okay, so the, yeah, we want to find, and our foundation is looking to find teachers who are willing to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, you know, now this is somebody from Japan, right? And it was like we had, and it's like, if there's past lives again, we knew each other before. So I said, Mariana-san, let's go to Waikiki School tomorrow. Went to Waikiki, sat in a circle with first graders. We went to a sixth grade, and the sixth grade, in the sixth grade class, they've been doing it since kindergarten. Okay, what they chose to talk about was love. And it went to the young man who'd asked him, and he said, I think love is very, very difficult, very hard. What do you mean? He said, my grandma died last summer, and a few years before, it was clear to me and the others that she was not well. And I found that I was getting angry at my grandma because she was sick, and there was this, something was really, and so I didn't want to be near her. And so my dad pulled me aside and he said, son, your grandma knows that there's something bothering you about this, and it's she misses you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go in and just talk to her? So he said, I went in and sat on the bed, and I said, Grandma, and she said, I know you're sad and you're angry about what's happening. And she reached up and she pulled me down, and she put her arms around me, and she said, they're right, I'm very, very sick, and I'm in such pain, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be free from the pain. And now he says, no, I'm crying. And she's crying and she's telling me this. And I just want you to know that I may not be here much longer, but I want you to remember that wherever you are, I'll be with you. So we're in this circle. You know, we talk about a safe place.
Yeah.
You know, we're all,
Yeah.
you know, and there's, you know what that's, I mean, and it's quiet for a while, and then one of the girls says, you know something, you guys, we sixth graders, we used to talk about boyfriend and girlfriend, or a boy having a boy who's a friend, or a girl who's a friend, but now we're talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, and that means something different. I don't think we're ready for love yet. You know, and those things, it brings up sort of this sense of laughter and kind of disbelief.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's a disbelief. Oh my God, what's...
Yeah.
So then we go down to the teachers' meeting, and with the way Bonnie did it, it was a huge circle. Everybody's there, everybody in the community, the secretaries, whatever, we're all there in that big circle. We have a community ball, and there's Navarro. So Bonnie, you know, tosses in the community ball and says, welcome to our circle, it's an honor to have you here. Do you have any questions for us? So he says, well, you know, yes, actually, I would like to know, what is it about P4C that you think is valuable? And a group of teachers who are speaking from the heart, it doesn't get any more self-eloquent than that.
Yeah.
And one after the other, the impact on the children who didn't talk, how much difference it makes in the classroom, how much difference it's made for me in my relationship with those kids, that's all different. To me, and personally, it's changed my life. I learned how to deal with my husband. You know, so it has this. And so Navarro, you know, I noticed he's writing, and I said, one of the teachers said, we miss the graduate students.
Yeah.
So the boss says, how much was that every year? Scribble, 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 scribble. So we got to the end, and thank you very much and all that. Oh, and first graders had given him a lay, and
Yeah.
there was all that stuff. So he said, Mizio, I've met Mizio, and I've decided from this that I'm going to leave a grant for Mizio for $10,000. This is their next final semester now.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want her to do is I want her to present a PowerPoint, create a PowerPoint to present to my board of trustees this summer.
Mm.
And he said, he said she's so fitting in. She's more like the traditional. She understands the language. She knows that you don't say Maruyama-san. It's Maruyama-sama, if you're going to refer. It's the top of the hierarchy.
Okay.
So she knows the old ways.
Yeah. So, and she was a student here?
Yeah, she was getting her master's in environmental philosophy.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So, after he left, and she said, and he said, I think she'll know what to do. She said, I know how to handle these old guys. You know,
you're in good hands.
You know,
Yeah.
you're in good hands with Mizio. You know, in her, there was an East-West Philosophers Conference, and Kuwako Sensei is the name I remember. He's at Tokyo University.
Mm-hmm.
He was here. He learned about what Mizio was doing with environmental philosophy, but also about philosophy for children.
Mm.
And he said, I have a doctorate idea, if you would be willing. One of the problems that we're having with environmental initiatives through the government is that we're running the whole show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. We have no way of understanding how do we engage the local communities.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to take that on as a topic? And so her topic was something, and I can get you a copy. Community democratic involvement in planning, environmental planning.
Yeah.
So on Sado Island, you know, she organized a meeting, and it is in an old schoolhouse, and she brought children. She brought, you know, parents to come, and these are fishermen and farmers, and there's a hierarchy, and then there are these the government sorts of things, and sort of there's this initial. So they do the community ball, and you know the whole atmosphere is relaxing. So then she starts. And you always have to. Okay, so the project that the government had come up with, there used to be a toki bird on Sado Island, and it had gone extinct.
Mm.
Okay, so the government's idea was, let's bring the toki bird back. Okay, problem, there aren't any more. There are in China.
Mm.
So they bought two of them, $1 million for each one. And then they built a $17 million hotel for them. So they were proliferate, you know, there were so many birds. And they asked the farmers, what do you think? That thing's a pest. It eats the, it eats the rice.
Yeah.
We're glad it's gone. You know, yeah, we used fertilizer, and that helped get rid of them.
Wow.
So what's the plan? So
Mm-hmm.
the plan is to respond to, our kids aren't staying here.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard work, we're all getting older, da-da-da-da. So they had so the counter plan to them was, the plan is that Sado Island is famous in Japanese. This is an exile place like a Pu'u'onua.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to restore it with tourism, but that takes advantage of all of the industry and what's here, you know.
Yeah.
Restoration, they had a large pond there that used to be oyster,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the rice and all the rest.
Yeah.
So she's now,
Yeah.
and her dissertation, it's phenomenal. She created an intellectually safe.
So she did the just before you go. So she did the PowerPoint, and then.
And then we got our first big grant. I think it was then.
From
Yeah,
Uehiro?
From Uehiro Foundation.
Yeah.
Because Noboru then, he went out to the high schools, he saw it. and said, you need help.
You gotta talk to the
Okay,
mic.
okay, so you need help.
Yeah,
And so, we're gonna create a grant, we're gonna create an
Yeah.
academy, I'll talk to the dean.
yeah.
And he said, okay, we're gonna, I know, $1,250,000,
Mm-hmm,
but this is what the university has to do.
mm-hmm,
Okay, you gotta pay for salaries for
Mhm.
these, Amber, Chad, and Toby.
yeah,
You have to provide office space, and you have to pick up the,
the TAs?
no, their salaries now, because they're now.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're gonna be specialists in the department.
Right,
And then, the thing that is a huge chunk that goes for medical and retirement and all that
yes,
kind of stuff.
yes,
You know,
the
there's-
fringe,
Fringe,
yeah,
yeah, put one fringe.
fringe expense.
Yeah. And so that was really the launch of this whole,
And UH was
Yeah.
delighted to,
they could hardly stand it. Oh,
Yeah.
and they were remodeling Sakamaki Hall.
uh-huh,
So the dean says, where do you want it?
yeah,
And I came and I saw the lounge
Uh-huh.
over there, and then my office, and I said, that's what we want. So they had to
Yeah.
tear out a wall, and, you know,
Nice.
my daughter's an architect, she designed,
Nice.
you know, all that.
Nice. Well, let me just thank you for
Oh,
this
yeah.
delightful couple of hours. This was exactly what I wanted. Thank you so much. And
You
thank
know-
you for changing the trajectory of my life.
Well, it's changed the directory for all of our lives, hasn't
Yeah,
it? And your
it really
being here
has.
means that, you know, we're on a new trajectory.
Yeah, we
You know,
are.
it's just opening up in wonderful ways, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share these stories, just because I feel like they're so special
They are.
about what's happened
Yeah.
and the other things that are in there, and I think how blessed I've been. Absolutely blessed.
And
I've
how
been.
many lives you blessed.
Well, wow. There's some song.
Can you clap, please? Yeah? Okay.
Do you know that song?
We belong
To the mutual.
Yes.
You know that? Rich society.
Awesome,
Thank you
awesome stuff.
so much.